Hello everybody, welcome back to How to Build a B-1 Bomber. I have my bulkhead, my elevator bulkhead mechanism halfway glassed. Well, I want to tell you something, all these funny shapes, they made it kind of tough. But got my parting plane off. Now I'm done with this, remember? Don't need that no more. Now I have my glass and it's all waxed up. But you see, because all these funny shapes, this was actually, that other half took me 2 days. And what I did, I put a couple coats of my white resin, which is, I use my surface coat, mix a little bit of calcium carbonate with it just to thicken it up a bit, and painted that all on there. I did that I put 2 coats on it, and then I started wrapping these corners. I let it tack up a little bit, and then just put some glass on these corners so I wouldn't have no voids. And then I'd paint another coat of resin on there, and in these real thin parts and these curvy parts, I put me some glass in there, and then another coat. And then I ended up with like 4 coats of my surface coat. Okay? And then I still had to layer it in sections. I let that tack up, and then I put a little bit around here, and put some resin on it, and let that tack up, and then I had to go over this way. But I had to keep trimming these parts, so I wouldn't end up with no voids. Because see that sharp corner right there, if I just take my glass and roll it over there, I'd end up with a void right there. So I went straight, let it tack up, trimmed it, and then laid a piece this way. Same thing, let it tack up, then I trimmed it, then I kept sanding that edge, and see what I ended up with is really nice corners with no voids. Here, let me pop this off and I'll show you. I got it all ready to do the other side. Then I had to make me a little jig to hold it. Right, you see, that's where I had the trouble. Not really trouble, it was just time consuming. I didn't want to end up with no voids there. I wanted to vacuum bag these with carbon fiber, and so we needed it sturdy and void free. And once I got that inside built up pretty good, then I just went over it with my pieces. Before I put this piece on, I had to let it pretty much set up, but then I sanded all my edges real good and then wiped it down with lacquer thinner so it would bond, because if you just try and put some more resin on here, it won't bond unless it's all the way cured, and then you sand it. But then it ended up really nice inside there, and you'll never see that piece, but it turned out pretty good. I'm happy with the way it turned out, and it should be void free. So you can see on the inside of this one, since this is that clear plastic. But I had a couple people saying, wow, where's that funny looking thing going? Because it is kind of got a funny shape to it. Well, that is the bulkhead that's going to go in here in my back piece and hold my elevator mechanism. It's actually made on an angle. It's where it sits in there at an angle. But it'll have to be installed before I glue all these pieces together. So what I'll do is I'll lay up these sides, I'll unbolt it and lay up these sides separate, trim my edges, and put that in there, and then bolt these together and tape them up. But we'll go through all that when I'm doing it, because I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it yet. A lot of this stuff is just going by the seat of your pants and just solve them problems when you come to them instead of thinking about them, worrying about them way in advance. But that's where I'm at with that, and I'm ready to lay up the other side, which that is a 2-day process to get all these corners and inside edges and that little thin part right there, to have them all come out good with no voids. I don't want no voids in that, because we're going to lay this up out of carbon fiber, and thick carbon fiber up here, and this has got to be solid. Got to have a decent mold. And I don't don't think I'm going to have any problem with this piece coming out of that mold. Shoot, it's been trying to fall out since I took my part and plane off. When I take my part and plane off, the thing was just start trying to fall out. But and then this mechanism will go inside my stab, you see, and this piece of chromoly tubing will go all the way through, and this is just a shorter piece of chromoly tubing so I can show you. But I got them bearings. It's all set up on ball bearings because these work independently. They actually work as ailerons. You know, one goes up, one goes down. That's why it's got to be done with them bearings, because they don't just move together. They actually move independently. I'm using my other hand to hold the camera, so I can't show you. But they work independently, and they'll act as ailerons when the wings are swept back. And I've been working on my gas tank. I got the other side glass yesterday. Now that's 2 layers of cloth, and you just want to make sure you get that resin really thick, so you know you don't end up with no pinholes. There's a little bubble there popped up, but I think that's just in my pill fly. But I ain't worried about it. I ain't done yet anyway. Now when I get all that done, see I rounded my corners so they'll kind of flop down, and then I'll trim that and sand it like I did my other side. And then when I lay up this next piece, I'll trim that and sand it, kind of get my contour back in it. And then when I lay up my other side, I'll overlap it. And it don't have to be much, just a little bit. And then I'll get all that nice and sanded. And then I'll put another bead of glass just on my corners. And then it probably end up with like 3 or 4 layers. Here's a tank I made a long time ago. But, and then, you know, you gotta, then when I'm all done, I'll drill a hole in it, and where I'll put my nozzles, and then I'll pour that full of lacquer thinner, and just let that lacquer thinner eat on that foam, and slosh it around, and let that lacquer thinner do its job, and it'll eat all that styrofoam out. And then I take it and I cut it in half, because you end up with a lot of stuff inside there that it's got to be cleaned out. And then I'll go cut that in half, get inside there and sand it all real smooth, wet sand it, and then I'll come in here with some fiberglass tape it back together, and then just put a whole coat of resin on everything, you know, and make it look halfway decent. Even though when it's installed in this here, you'll never see it again. That thing will be installed inside there. And you know, why have this wasted space? Might as well keep some fuel in it. And how I made that is I just cut my foam this width here, and I took a hot wire and just went right over it, boom, and bam, had a gas tank. And you know, it's just a process. You know, I'll put this on, let it set up today, then you know, tonight I'll be able to trim that edge. And tomorrow, then in the morning, I could sand that. You got to wait for it to set up before you can sand it. Sand that nice radius back in it so you can overlap your next piece. And if they overlap a 1/4 inch, you know, that's plenty. Because I'm not done yet. I'm going to put a couple more layers on. My next layer, I'll be sure and wrap that corner really good, and then paint my resin on there and just make a nice stick tank. But then we're going to make some other tanks. I'll show you. Did I show you guys where I put my plug? I hung that dude upside down on the ceiling. But right here in these cheeks, right in front of that main spar, we're going to put a couple of tanks right up there in them cheeks. And we can get a couple gallons in there, probably 2-3 gallons on each side. And it'd be close to the CG. And be a good place for tanks while I have that hollow airplane. And we can stick some gas tanks in it. And while I was glassing the other day, and I had some resin mixed up, you know, old Paul, our buddy, been helping me out, been making all these parts for me, going out of his way, just super nice guy. Well, we're going to put a big old smile on Paul's face. Look at this. I have got these things, these little cheap glass, because when I got these, they were just styrofoam. And I got them glass. I wrapped that all in one piece. And it turned out pretty nice. Ain't no seam right there to sand. I didn't put no peel ply on it, because that peel ply don't like these radiuses. But I'll fill that with primer. Then I did this edge. And I had a couple people asking how I got them edges so nice and sharp. And what I do is, you wait for this resin to tack up. If you wait for it to set up all the way, it's too hard to trim. But just let it get nice and rubbery to where it's, you know, starting to firm up pretty good. I just take my X-Acto and I trim that. And then I take the block, sand that out, and you see that nice straight edge right there. And then when I lay my other glass on there, and just take your resin just past it a little bit, and same thing. You let it get, you know, let it start to set up, and then you can just take your razor blade, your X-Acto, and just trim that edge. But I got that done, and I just, you know, I had some resin mixed up, so waiting for stuff to set up, so I went ahead and took care of that for old Paul. Paul's our buddy, and this one's for you, bro. And it's looking pretty good. I like this Thunder Chief. That's one of my favorite airplanes. That's going to be a nice unit. I can't wait to get it done. But you never know, Paul. I just might spill some primer on it. You just never know. But that's where I'm at. I wanted to give you guys a heads up. I'm going to be busy on this mold here for a couple of days. But as soon as I get that mold done, we're going to lay up one of them parts out of carbon fiber. And Dad's working on my bulkhead. He's getting all them gear mounted to it. He got his carport done. So we're getting close, folks. We're getting close. As soon as I get this part made, we can start laying up the fuselage. And I got to get that gas tank done too, because once that dude's in there, it's gone forever. So I got to make sure that's done right and not leaking. So it might be the end of the weekend before I actually start work on a fuselage. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Bear with me. We're going to have a B-1 bomber sitting here. Not long. But until then, I will see you guys in the shop.